Well, hello folks, it is Soul with another video, and today I wanted to do a I wanted to do a separate video on some of these cool weapons that we're seeing in the most recent version of the 8.3 PTR. The reason why these weapons I think are pretty cool is that they're corrupted. There are corrupted weapons that are going to be dropping directly from bosses in Ny'alotha, the last raid that's coming in BFA. I'm going to go over all of the ones that are available right now, but let me at least first talk about just what's going on with this corruption thing. So corruption is a stat that is going to cause debuffs to your character, and at a minimum of 20 or so corruption, at least as far as we know, you're going to start getting one of several debuffs, including being snared, dropping a void zone, ads coming in to magically appear and explode upon you, and to just take a bunch of extra damage. But these particular weapons that are coming from the raid are extremely powerful. So let me at least use this one as an example. This one-handed weapon here, it gives 25 corruption like all the others do, and let me read the tooltip. Your damaging abilities build stacks of searing flames. When you reach 30 stacks, exhale a searing breath, dealing damage equal to 5% of your health to all targets in front of you. As a protection paladin with 500,000 health, this does, I believe, 25,000 damage, cone damage. Of course, we don't know what the internal cooldown is on this. We don't know how long it takes to reach these 30 or so stacks. The whole point of this thing, though, is that there are these items that drop from the raid that are immediately corrupted. You can see here that this is definitely on the adventure guide for, and we can see all the bosses here. This is guaranteed to drop as corrupted. Now you might be thinking to yourself, this is going to be a pretty useless weapon because I don't want to deal with corruption, I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. So at least keep in mind that there are ways to resist corruption. This right here is the level 1 cape that you get very early in your questing experience in 8.3. This has 5 corruption resistance built into it. I'm not able to test this much further to see if higher levels will give me more corruption resistance, but I'm going to presume that it does. The new essences that are coming in 8.3, they also give a corruption resistance. So this happens to give me a corruption resistance of 10. But let me also compare this other weapon here, the Gift of the Void, which doesn't have any sort of corruption stuff, but notice that the stats are basically the same. So from the sounds of it, or at least this is what I'm going to presume, I'm going to speculate, this is not a guarantee, you may be able to simply cleanse the corruption from this particular weapon right here, and then it's going to act as a normal weapon. So keep in mind that the weapons that are coming from Ny'alotha, it's very particular. Not all the weapons, let me pull this up, not all of the weapons are going to be corrupted. A lot of them function just totally fine on their own. You don't have to go out and get your weapon cleansed. But I'm going to speculate that you can in fact cleanse the corruption off of these weapons in case, this has really good stats. I want to be able to at least use this weapon but not have to worry about the effect, even though the effect is really cool. As for the rest of us, though, who are interested in having corrupted stuff available and are worried about, shucks, the corrupted stuff, it's really boring, I just want to cleanse it, or it's just not an interesting mechanic to me, there are in fact going to be some pretty cool items that do have corruption that do some cool stuff. So let's go over these weapons. Since we're here, this two-handed agility staff, let's look at the tooltip. Your auto attacks bite into the target's soul, dealing 2% of your health in damage and healing you for that amount. Have you noticed I'm not trying to pronounce these names? Yeah, for good reason. So this two-handed strength axe, gain obsidian skin. Ooh, a tanking one. Increasing your armor by 5%. Every 100% of your max health lost, explode with obsidian destruction, dealing shadow damage equal to 1000% of your armor to all enemies within 20 yards. Really quick, let's try to understand the context here. So as I'm a prop paladin, this is, I have 8700 armor right now. Let's look at this tooltip again. So this is going to do 10 times this amount, so 80k damage to all enemies within 20 yards. That's not bad. And then I'm getting the 5% extra armor there too. So at least as a protection paladin, and as someone who likes to self-heal, I don't worry too much about taking the damage. So I have a feeling that this particular weapon, okay, it would be good because it's a two-handed weapon. Okay, never mind. Death Knights, you have a great time with this one, okay? Moving on to this one-handed caster axe. Your mind's true potential is unlocked, causing your spells to grant you flashes of insight, gain between 1 and 8% intellect at all times. That's really interesting. I wonder what the internal cooldown is on that would cycle between this 1 and 8%. Now let's take a look at this caster mace. Gain Void Ritual, giving your spells and abilities a chance to increase all secondary stats by 10 every second for 20 seconds. This chance is increased if at least 2 nearby allies also have Void Ritual. This one seems just okay, especially because the benefits are increased when you're grouped up with other people, so it would be better for raids. I'd say that this would be not nearly as useful in other group contents like Mythic Plus. Okay, now for this caster wand. Obviously it's a caster wand, come on. Your spells and abilities have a chance to show you the ineffable truth, increasing the rate your cooldowns recover by 20% for 12 seconds. So this seems pretty cool. I'm not sure how effective it's ultimately going to be, especially if you're the type that wants to line up cooldowns, but it's really going to depend on what the internal cooldown is on this, so that we can rely on, okay, cool, let's say maybe a 3-minute cooldown. On average, it's going to go down to a 2.5-minute cooldown, for example. So if a caster can, on average, rely on something like this, oh cool, then maybe we can time the way your cooldowns are around this and be a bit more effective. And if we have a ranged weapon, your auto shots reduce the remaining cooldown of a random hunter ability by 1 second. Ooh, this seems really cool, except for, of course, you don't know which ability is going to have its cooldown reduced. While the cooldown reduction isn't something you can really rely on, since it's going to be a random ability that has its cooldown reduced, it's going to be consistent, at least as long as you're hitting the target. So at the moment, this seems to be it. I'm looking at rogue weapons, and I have a feeling that this weapon right here is going to also have a corruption stat on it. It's just not in yet. So we're not done seeing all the weapons that could possibly be corrupted. And for all we know, all of them might be corruptible. But that would really depend on whether or not we can cleanse these sorts of weapons. If we can cleanse these off, then that's pretty cool. If not, then that's going to probably cause a little bit of friction between players who are not interested in participating in this whole corruption mechanic. But what do you think? I mean, these are pretty interesting that we're able to get some pretty significant buffs out of these. Of course, we have to deal with the corruption, but otherwise, they're just weapons. We can possibly have these cleansed of corruption, and we can just use them as normal weapons. So let me know what you think in a comment below, and of course, like and subscribe if you are interested in more of this and all things Warcraft. I'll see you for the next thing that I do, but until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.